Steve Coreno, KOR The Sports, are here with the one and only Eddie Hearn, man. Got a good one. Got a good one here in SoCal at the War Grounds, like you said. Yeah. Diego Pacheco grew up 10 minutes from here. His mom still lives, 10 minutes from here. And he's against a guy who is that progression, right? Like that next step into like prospect to like serious contender in Sulecki. Just how do you see it stylistically playing it?
Firstly, I think it's a great card. I mean, obviously we're coming off the back of what, 3 weeks ago in LA, just a card that was just for the ages. But when you look at the makeup of this card and the clashes, I think it's going to be a great night of boxing. I think for Diego, it's amazing to see his rise from a 17-year-old now to #1 in the world, which he is with the WBO. I think it's the perfect kind of fight to show where he's really at. I think Sulecki is extremely tough. I think he's a world-class fighter, but we expect Diego to do a job on him, and if he does, he's going to get ordered to fight the winner of Canelo against Berlanga. I mean, he has to because of his position. I'm not saying he's ready for that. We're not calling that out, but it's going to come. And when it comes, you've got to be ready because you can't lose that opportunity. That's why we need minimum 2, probably 3 more fights, maybe, before that Canelo or whoever it is opportunity. And, I think after you beat someone like Sulecki, you look at a Mbili or you look at a Munguia. And then once you fight those guys, there's no in-betweens. You're diving in.
You mentioned that you guys signed Diego early. I remember even the first fight in Saudi Arabia with Joshua Ruiz, their rematch. Diego was on the undercard of that. Brutal knockout on the undercard of that. Just what's that like on your side of it, right? Kind of like seeing a talent young and then bring him along to this point in his career.
For me, that's some of the most rewarding moments. Like I remember when we signed Diego, 17, real tall, skinny kid, and I looked at him, I thought, you're a middleweight, because that's what he was at the time. He's like, I thought this guy's going to be a heavyweight in 10 years, and he's actually kept his shape well. Still makes 168 comfortably, which is a great asset for him whilst he continued to do that. But I'm very proud of him, and I think that I feel like we've done a great job. Like he's done a great job. He's, he really has invested himself and his time into the sport, and I think teaming up with Jose Benavidez was massive for him as well. And I'm interested and excited to see where he's going to go. We can't control that. Only he can control that now. But what we can do is make the right decisions and take the right steps at the right time. And I think we've done that for his career. I think we've done a great job, and it's over to him now.
You guys definitely did a good job. You mentioned earlier, it's maybe after a Sulecki is a Munguia or an Mbili to get to the Canelo, like the title shots. I had this conversation with Diego as well. I don't feel maybe Berlanga needed to do that, right? I mean, I don't think maybe Sulecki might be the biggest name on Berlanga's resume as well, kind of leading up to that. But you got it, right? But he's still got it. Does that maybe concerning for you, being on the Berlanga side, that maybe Berlanga is, doesn't have the experience?
I think of course, you'd always want probably one more in Edgar's position, where you go from a Quigley or, those kind of guys, a McCrory, and then you go and fight a Munguia or a Mbili. But sometimes it doesn't work out like that. Like, I don't think that, you could have had that fight against Munguia or Mbili, and it could have been an all-out war that actually takes something out of you. At the same time, Berlanga's as fresh as they come, right? He's like no war wounds, no injuries. Like Canelo's been around a long time, going through those training sessions, those hard spars, those fights. Like sooner or later, I'm not saying it's coming now, but it will do at some point, And for Edgar, he'll throw everything at that fight, and he's fit and he's ready to take the chance.
Has it been hard to navigate kind of being on the other side of, the versus Canelo? Normally in the past you were kind of promoting Canelo, now you're on the other side. But you still kind of got to walk the line, right, a little bit.
Someone asked me who I want to win. I said Edgar Berlanga. Like, I'm Team Berlanga, 100%. And I like Edgar as well. Like, personally, I like the guy. And I was really pleased that we delivered this fight for him and Keith and everybody. Again, like Diego, you provide him with the opportunity. It's over to you guys. Do you know what I mean? Like, I love Canelo. I think he's such a great fighter, and I really enjoy his company. Like, and I think it's important for people to see the real him, because he's so funny. Do you know what I mean? And he's just brilliant company. and he's a ruthless fucker, you know. He is, and he's a ruthless guy, and I really respect him. But of course, we're Team Berlanga for this one. It'll be a real fight. It really will.
What's your take on kind of Canelo beefing with Turkish? It seems like they're, I don't know, they kind of got their little back and forth going on. Just what's your take?
I think it's probably two guys that are used to getting what they want. Do you know what I mean? And you know, when His Excellency asked Canelo to meet him, and he said no, I don't think there's anyone in boxing that wouldn't meet His Excellency, other than Canelo Alvarez. And I think that probably put his back up a little bit. You know, I think as well, like, Canelo wants, sorry, His Excellency has this idea in his head to make these incredible marquee fights, which is amazing for boxing, right? And when he can't make them, he's very frustrated, like all of us fight fans. Do you know what I mean? But he actually has the ability to make them because he has the war chest to do it. And I think he was probably frustrated that he couldn't at least have a conversation to try and make Crawford Canelo. And who knows whether that conversation will come around. But I also understand Sal's position, which was, look, I've got a fight coming up. No, I'm not. I'm focused on that, and then we'll talk later. Sal's going to do whatever the fuck Sal wants to do. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, like, and I love the strategy, whether it's even a strategy that Sal has, which is like, you pay me the money, I'll have the fight. Simple. No lies. Do you know what I mean? Just do it. You pay me the money, I'm in. And that's the truth. He will fight anyone, but he's also got a price in mind.
Yeah, true. I mean, he keeps saying 200 million for David.
But I doubt that's an actual, like, that probably not the figure, but throw it out there. See how close you can get. Right. Good luck. Right. Like, you imagine, like, he don't need it. You like, he loves to compete, and he loves to make money, and he loves to fight. But he really don't need it. That's why I look at people like Crawford. I don't think Crawford will fight again. You know, unless it's Canelo Alvarez. I don't think he'll fight Virgil Ortiz. You know, he won't rematch Madrimov. He definitely won't fight Boots. So who are you going to fight? I don't think he'll fight Fundora, because he's made a lot of money and he's not interested in fights that don't pay him an absolute fortune or get him really excited. And the one that's in his mind is Canelo. And if he can't get that fight, I don't think he'll fight again.
It's the last of Crawford then, maybe, huh? Maybe. Man, congratulations on the signing of Shakur Stevenon. You know, I don't know if this was, you maybe I clear the rumor up with you, but I believe there was a point where you were negotiating for Shakur for the Tank fight. Is that true?
No,
and
that's not true.
Oh, okay. I heard that.
No. So, I met with Josh Dubin, Jay Prince. You know, Shakur's got a great team of people around him, and I then met with His Excellency in Los Angeles, and I pitched to him to put Shakur Stevenon on. Well, firstly to fight Zepeda, because that was the fight that we want. But Zepeda is having a child and wasn't ready, so we decided to do another fight. And I said to His Excellency, and you know, he said, let's do a fight in October, and then let's do Zepeda. So I went back, pitched that to Shakur. There's a famous clip of us all talking at the fight, you know. And we got it done, but I wasn't involved in any discussions with Tank. I think, you know, my plan for Shakur, we got a 2-fight agreement to fight Cordina, and if he wins that, to fight Zepeda, then I think he should fight Tank. Like, I think that's, if I do the job right for Shakur, I think that's one of the biggest fights in the sport. But who else? I look at Tank right now, I'm not sure who the options are for him. Do you know what I mean? Like, again, yeah, but he's not fighting him in November, is he? Like Robert Garcia was there earlier, who's with Rio, and he said, no, like, that fight's not happening. But also, Tank's made a lot of money. We keep talking about the same thing. Like, he's not going to fight for $5, $6, $7 million. So to make the 20s and the stuff that he wants, it's got to be a big fight. And the big fights are only Shakur, Teofimo, yeah, maybe Loma. You know, Devin, I don't know, but like, they're the fights that are going to pay him the kind of Ryan, you know, they're the fights that are going to pay him what he wants, because he ain't gonna, he's like, ain't gonna be easy working with Shakur, with Tank, because he's gonna have in his mind, oh, I made that against Ryan Garcia, you got to pay me that, and that's the same with Crawford, pay me that, otherwise I'm all right, you know. I know Tank's at an earlier stage in his career, but yeah, it's not going to be easy.
Yeah, no, it'll be interesting to see what happens. You said that you think Tank would be after those 2 fights. Obviously, you just have a 2-fight deal. Would you be involved with the Shakur Tank?
If he wants me to be. I mean, at the moment it's a 2-fight deal, and I'm fine with that. I think people wanted him to sign a new 3-year deal, 4-year deal. Like that's a big at that stage in your career. I think 2, 3, 4-fight deals and extensions are fine. And I'm happy because I got to prove to Shakur that we're the right team for him to be with. I think one of the problems in boxing is people get in your ear and talk a lot of shit. So you're better finding out yourself than listening to rubbish. So when Shakur works with us, I believe he's going to say, I like these people. That's my team. He's got a great team around him. He needs to keep the team small and tight and throw away the bullshit and everyone else telling him whatever. And just, he works very hard and he's an exceptional fighter.
No, he is, and the Joel Cordina fight's a good fight too. That's going to be.
Listen, that's a tough fight. Tough fight.
Yeah. No, it's going to be good. I'm excited to see what Shakur does with you guys. Man, another fighter that you got, Boots Ennis. I know you've said you've sent offers to Stanionis and Brian Norman. It sounds like Brian Norman is, maybe you guys are going back and forth, but I don't know. You tell me what's happened.
But not really. I mean, it's very frustrating, especially when, I don't like talking about numbers, but, the first offer that we made to Brian Norman was well over $1 million, right? People were tweeting me going, I bet you offered him 300. It's like, no, he's never made, I don't know what he got for his last fight, 200, for whatever it was, right? They said, no, we're not, we want towards X number. We went back, we upped it $250,000. Then they started doing interviews saying we're close, right? I thought, okay, good. I still think at that point the offer that we made was a big offer. With all due respect to Brian Norman, he hasn't, he's not a high-profile fighter. Good fighter. We're close. Okay, I went back, I upped it another $250,000. Then I was told we're miles away. And it's like, I don't understand what you mean. You just said we were close. I've just offered another $250,000 that I really didn't want to do. And I did. And now it's so frustrating because it's like, do you really want to be great? You've got an opportunity to make more money than you've ever dreamed of. But because the problem is they know how good Boots is. And they talk a good game. But it's like Stanionis. He come out, I've never received an offer from Matchroom. I said, you better speak to your advisor, mate. Because we made one 3 days ago. Goes back, yeah, I spoke to him. It was an insulting offer. It's like that was miles north of $1 million as well. Who are you, Stanionis? Who have you fought? No one. The game's got to change to the point of giving people like Norman and giving people like Stanionis some bullshit defence for great money, because there's no value in those fights. Make Stanionis fight Boots, or make him fight Barrios, or make Norman fight Boots. Now instead you've got the IBF calling a mandatory of a guy we've already beaten 3 fights ago. It's bullshit. So we may take that fight, or we may do something different, we may do something wacky, but it's very frustrating that these guys talk a great game but they don't really want the smoke.
Is that a Boots issue, or is that just because
it's a boxing issue? And it's a Boots issue because Boots is really good and everyone knows how good Boots is. So what they say is, I want this much to fight Boots. I'll fight Boots. We'll beat him. He's not the bogeyman, but by the way, we need this much. Do you know what I mean? If it was another champion, by the way, they'd take half, but because it's Boots. But the problem is, you get people also saying, just, Eddie, give him the money. It's like, mate, it doesn't work like that. I'm not going to do a show and lose a couple of $1 million because Brian Norman's dad thinks he's worth this amount of money. That's not how you run a business. But we will invest and we will lose money to get Boots the belts, but we were going to lose money on the offer we made to Brian Norman. We won't make any money out of that show, but we'll do it because I want to see Boots unify the division. But we'll get there.
Man, that's the entrails of boxing is kind of a crazy thing when you get into the details of it. Last one, Eddie, for me, we got we finally got it again. It seems like Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul. Yeah. I only bring it up because in this last press conference when Mike pushed him, obviously it seemed a little, whatever, they're trying to sell it, right? But you still kind of saw the, the force of Mike. He is like a thick dude. He's like a tree trunk. I don't know what, does the age, obviously it's going to play a factor.
The best way to explain it. 20 years ago, Mike Tyson retired from boxing, shot to pieces, right? I mean, completely shot. 20 years on, having been shot 20 years ago, he's fighting. If anyone thinks that Mike Tyson should be in the ring at this age, you either have absolutely no emotional feelings toward that man, or you're an idiot. And listen, God bless him, he's a legend, one of my favourite ever fighters, but I'm not going to lie to you, it shouldn't be happening.
I mean, he looked good against Roy. He looked pretty fresh against Roy. That was only, what,
Against
2
Roy Jones,
years ago?
who is also completely shot to pieces in the ring. Come on, man. Yeah.
But the inexperience of Jake doesn't level it out?
He's a young man. Jake's a strong young man. He's very limited as a boxer, but he's strong and he can punch and he's in his prime. Do you know what I mean? Why do you want to see Mike Tyson, one of the greatest legends of all time in the sport, get punched around the ring by Jake Paul? Fucking hell, it's the world we live in.
So I'm not putting words in your mouth, but it seems like you think Jake has more than enough to...
Oh, I mean, look, I'm sure Mike Tyson can still punch, and Jake Paul...
Maybe that's the hard of me to say, kind of being...
But I just don't want to see... Yeah, but I just don't... Listen, I just don't want to see... I don't want to see Mike Tyson in the ring. I sat next to him in a Riyadh season event. He's an all-time great, a legend, great man. But we don't need to... You know, it's not something we need to see.
Eddie, we definitely need to see this weekend's fight, Pacheco versus Sulecki on DAZN. Thank you so much for your time, brother.